A special meeting of the Delta County Commissioners is being held this date pursuant to the following call. In a letter to the Commissioners dated August 13th, 2025, and reading as follows. The Honorable Members of the Delta County Board of Commissioners. Dear Commissioners, a special meeting of the County Board of Commissioners is scheduled for Monday, August 18th, 2025 at 4:15 p.m. in the conference room at the Delta County Service Center. Sincerely yours, Nancy Presrocki, Delta County Clerk. Please rise for a word of prayer. Lord, as we begin this meeting, we are thankful for our many blessings. We ask for guidance to help our commissioners make decisions in the best interest of the citizens of our county. And Lord, we pray for the safety of our military men and women and our first responders. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Malner?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Williams?
Here.
Commissioner Vangenhoven?
Here.
Commissioner Jensen?
Here.
Okay. Special orders of business. Approved the minutes from previous meetings. There was none. Go to number 6, approval of the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
In favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Number 7, presentation of written communications received and forwarded. There was none. Number 8, reports of standing statutory special committees and others. None.
Can I ask a question real quick about communications received? Is the person who submitted these FOIAs that submitted that email, should that be part of this communications received?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it was forwarded. Are you talking about the one that was forwarded today,
Yeah,
this morning?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we should
Okay.
probably include that as communications received relative to this.
We did have one received.
Move to
And
place on file.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Thank
Motion
you.
passed.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Let's see here, public comment on agenda items. Public comment on agenda items. I think Chris has
I
one.
do have a remote one.
Good afternoon, I'm Joseph Perotta. I'm here on 133, 134, 135, 136, and 139. Across these requests, Ms. Wickman relies on the same pattern of denial, saying records don't exist, claiming they would require new compilations or invoking exemptions too broadly. These reasons do not comply with FOIA law. For 4 main reasons. Number 1, records do not exist. In every instance, the underlying data is in the prosecutor's possession. Charging sheets, plea agreements, dismissals, forfeiture filings, and case outcome records. Reporting exists sidesteps the fact that the office holds the raw records. FOIA records, even if they're not yet in a neat spreadsheet. Repeatedly invokes creation of new records or work product as blanket denials. Michigan courts have made it clear FOIA requires disclosure really applied with segregation of not here. Number 3, contradictions. Are duplicative or of prior FOIAs and this, but both cannot be true. These shifting denials show the intent is not lawful application of FOIA, but avoidance of oversight. Number 4, transparency standard. FOIA's purpose clause says disclosure is the rule and non-disclosure the exemption. Wickman's approach flips that principle on its head. Other counties produce this type of information routinely. Delta should not be minor. I'm not asking the to invent new records. I'm asking for disclosure already uses in the ordinary course of its work. Transparencies in dismissals, pleas, trials, and forfeitures is essential to public trust. I respectfully ask the board to reverse these denials and require compliance with FOIA's core obligation. certify where records truly do not exist, segregate exempt from non-exempt, and stop contradictions. Thank you.
That's the only one that I have.
Okay. Any other public comment on agenda items? Seeing none, committee reports. There is no committee's reports. General orders business, unfinished business. Number 1, FOIA appeal, number 25-129.
I'm sorry, would it be possible to have the prosecutor's office approach the podium for just a general conversation about these before we dive into
Yeah.
each one separately?
Yeah.
Hi, Lauren.
Good afternoon.
Yeah,
Good afternoon.
happy Monday.
Yeah. So Lauren Wickman is at the podium, just so that.
Yes, Lauren
Yeah.
Wickman, prosecuting attorney.
Thank you. So I just have some general questions relative to this particular set of
Okay.
FOIA appeals. In the course of, like your office, would your office come to the Board of Commissioners at some point in the future because you need additional financing for your department? And, you know, you are asking for more resources. Would you not at that point provide some of this kind of information to us in some summary form? Similar to, just real quick,
Yep.
similar to this 2015 report, which is on your website. Phil Strom had put this together, and it's still on the website. And it basically summarizes, not all, but some of these particular requests for data in summary form. So I guess I'm trying to understand, you're not providing the summary information to this individual because it doesn't exist. But would you, if asked for it by this board?
Yes and no, and the reason I would phrase that is for two reasons. One, the Prosecutors Association has put together a metric or a spreadsheet that has been provided to this board in previous instances that looks at total number of cases that are submitted to my office, not simply cases that were filed, as most of these requests are referring to. And the reason why that's relevant is because regardless if it's authorized or not, I still have to review it. There may be follow-up, there may be additional things. So the Prosecutors Association has put together a metric to determine what the caseload should look like based on all the cases that come into our office. So in my time in the office, I've never had occasion or need, nor have I ever been asked to run case processing times, average or median times for case processing, mostly because that's a lot of times out of our control. And so it's not something that we've ever been asked to run as far as I've been in the office. I've been asked to run like total numbers. Having a monthly breakdown again has not been something that's ever been asked of me. That's one of the other requests in this chunk, so to speak. And a monthly summary is not something, again, that I think is super relevant for this board to consider. Again, I think it's a total, because it's gonna be looking at the total amount of cases that would come through my office in a year, not what a January look like compared to July. So those are not questions I've ever been asked, and I suppose it's something that I could see being asked in the future, but it has never been something we have run or provided to this board, at least as long as I've been in the office previously.
Okay. And then another question I have is, so if I look at the total cost of these FOIA appeals, you know, this board having to come together, we all get paid to be here, we all get mileage to come here. You have to be here. You obviously have spent considerable time on responding to these denials and providing that information to us. I wonder what the cost would be if we did just do a summary of all of this information and provide that.
I don't have a good way to do a summary. I've outlined that in one of our original ones, is that the time frame that's being focused in on in each one of these is January 1, 2024 to December 31, 2024. Why that is relevant is because June 10th of 2024, we switched case tracking systems. And so our data post-June is different than our data pre-June. And so we are still finding mistakes in that transfer. And so the only way to provide the raw data, like, I don't have a good way at all to provide a summary that is accurate. Those numbers would not be accurate. I could not swear under oath that those are the accurate numbers. Because just last week I found mistakes. And when I'm saying mistakes, I say in the basic entry of what the case is, what the charge is, all the basic information, not even a disposition entry issue. But basically it has a placeholder for the charge. So then we have to go in and enter the charge, the agency, the date, all of that information. So that either would not get, I have no idea how that would display if we ran some sort of summary.
Okay.
So in order to provide this information in the raw data form, that's why we have to go pull each individual file. So that's the only way I've been able to come up with to do it. I've talked it through with my clerical staff, who's much more hands-on and knows the system in different ways than I know the system to ensure I'm not missing something. And they can't come up with a better way or easier way to do it. And unfortunately, a lot of that legwork would fall to them, so they would love to find a better way to do it.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Okay, because I just really would like to understand just a better way that, we can provide these records without it being an undue burden, obviously, to the individual who's requesting it, so that would be like a financial burden, but also undue burden for your office to have to produce the material. And for me, it kind of, it just makes me reflect on some of my past, like setting up data structures in my past, and thinking through, all right, maybe we need to make sure these columns, these specific columns are either flagged as sensitive or protected so that when we're pulling data out, we can easily delete or redact or whatever that information, So I'm just trying to think of, in the future, how do we accommodate these kinds of requests without these kinds of denials and appeals repeatedly?
And I think one of the other issues related to this new particular system, our old system was case-based. And so we could run it, it didn't matter, it just got entered in the order that they came into our office. They were not tied together by individual.
Gotcha.
Our new system is person-based. And so the
Okay.
only way we can find the individual files is by knowing the individual defendant's name that got entered to go and pull it. And so that's where the two systems did not talk to each other well. So that transfer of the information, and this was all done outside of Brandon's control, because I think that might have made things a little bit easier if he'd had his fingers in it. But because it's a proprietary software, he was not part of that. And so that's a large chunk of the issue, is that pulling the generalized data does not give us a summary. It gives us a list of people we would still have to go look for that individual information for.
Okay.
I guess I had a quick question. So when we went to the new system, and I know that's proprietary by the company, there's no way for us to even look at flagging those items that would be sensitive, that you would have to look at redacting stuff later?
We would still have to go into each individual file to redact, because it's still, most of this information that's being requested is inputted, not, it's a PDF that's scanned in that documents what the resolution was, what the sentence was. And so it doesn't compile it all in such a way that I know of any way to run a report that would generate that type of report.
Thank you.
About a month ago, you came to us and said that it would take like 1.87 years, right, to compile all this information. Where would you think we would be at right now? Because we're getting more of these appeals in on a daily basis, so
Yep.
what do you think we're at right now?
Because they're all different, it's hard to say. So that first one that one dated, I think it was 2020 through current,
Yeah,
so in
it's 21,
2025.
21 or something,
And so
yeah.
the way that one was phrased, the only way to capture all that information was also go into the 2019 files and the 2018 files.
Right.
Because just because a case ends in 2020 does not mean it started in 2020.
Correct.
And vice versa. So that's where that number was so enormous, is because
Mm-hmm.
the request was enormous. I've done ones recently where it's a more narrow tailored request where the estimates were closer to, I'm trying to think here, because they're all kind of running together, because they were more tailored requests, they were significantly smaller than the 1.8. So
Yeah.
we are trying to look at it from a piece by piece as they're coming in, as we're supposed to do, of what would the estimate be to respond to this particularized
Okay.
request versus a generalized request.
Okay. So, I mean, is this something that we're just gonna have to continue to deal with? Because I believe we got more in today.
I believe there are 7 on the docket for tomorrow, for receiving.
Yeah, I guess I have a different take on it. It's not an annoyance to me. It's
No,
more,
not-
it's,
It's a cost. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
that's okay. I mean, I'm sitting in the seat because of FOIA. And so, and a FOIA non-disclosure. So I very much appreciate FOIA. It is the only way that I can see that people can participate in their government, know what's going on in individual offices. And clearly, this individual wants to evaluate your office.
Sure.
And so how do we give this individual what they need so that they can do that, so they can participate in what is going on in your office that they seem to need this information for? That's where I want to get to. I just want to get to a place where we can say, yeah, we can give you what you're looking for. It's not exactly what you're looking for, word for word, but here's the closest that we can get. That's where I'd like to get to.
And I understand that, and that's where, with those estimates that we've put out there, we're trying to accomplish that. We're trying to give him the materials to be able to formulate that. Even if he's asking for, I think maybe it's a new one or something to that effect, I can provide the raw data, but that's going to take a lot of time to get that raw data and pull that raw data out. And I think at a certain point, I'm also being appealed, even if I give him something that fits, or fits partially, it's still being appealed. And so that's also, I'm trying to give the documents when I have the documents. I am giving the documents when I have the documents. But if I don't have that record, it doesn't seem to make a big difference if I'm giving a partial response versus a non-partial response.
Right, yeah, and we saw that in the third party opinion, the last set of documents, that, clearly you didn't have to give certain things, but you did. And so, you're trying to accommodate as much as you can. But in this particular case, in this set, it just, to me, feels like we should be able to have this information, how many cases, how many are felony misdemeanors, during this period of time. It just seems like this should be information that should be available, but,
I did give him the breakdown of the felony versus misdemeanors, adult versus juvenile.
right,
Just not by month, because
Yeah.
I don't have it by month.
gotcha.
And so that's where I'm giving you what I have, and that is what I have.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hide anything. I just don't have those numbers to give to you.
Right. Okay.
Thank you for answering our questions.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on FOIA Appeal 25-129?
Let's try to go back to the sheet here. One sec here, I'm looking for the one sheet, okay.
Okay.
You're good.
Hmm?
Okay.
Are we gonna try to lump all these together, or are we gonna do one by one?
Well, I have a different response for some of them.
Okay.
So
So we should do them one at a time
I
then?
think we should do them one at a time.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I don't know, if there's discussion for each of these. I've kind of gone through what my concerns are. I understand that, there's a legal basis to this denial, but, I just feel like, there's just something that we should be doing something different that we should be doing, something that we should be seeking out that would, correct or provide, the information in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know what that is at this point, knowing now that there was some transition between systems. I understand the challenges of that. But I also feel like maybe we should be reaching out to whomever the case manager or the person-based system is, this new system that we're using. I did send an email and ask what that was. I hadn't heard yet what the name of that system is so that I could do some research on it. But I'm just wondering, if it's person-based and you're entering information person-based, I'm sure that every entry has a date associated with it. I mean, this is data and everything has a timestamp, everything has an audit to it. It just seems like we should be able to produce these records, but, I just don't have a basis besides what I'm being told, and I trust that, what I'm being told is the limitations. So I just have challenges with this. I really feel like this kind of information should be available out of this office, so.
It would be my ask that before we vote on each one of these FOIA appeals, that we get recommendation from our administrator as well, please.
Do you have a recommendation?
Do you want me to give a recommendation based on each one individually?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at each individually, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
So starting off with
25
25 dash
dash 129.
129.
So I can kind of lump them all together. As the FOIA coordinator, obviously, my job is to make sure that the information that's gathered, whatever office it is, that the information comes to, when I receive it, that I look it over to make sure that we have all the information in place before I sign my name to it and then give it to the requester. When I look at a FOIA that has a partial denial or a full denial, I then look to the case law in the denial or the statute in FOIA why we're denying it. Some are easier than others because it could be due to attorney-client privileged information. Sometimes it's a partial denial because there's just a redaction in there of personal information, so they're easier for me to evaluate. If I have questions about any of the denials, I always go to the office that's fulfilling the FOIA to ask about why it's being denied, how we can go about trying to get the information if it is an issue like the prosecutor was just talking about, where it's a case management issue. In this instance, I did go to the prosecutor's office and talked to the prosecutor about how can we find this information, how can we get the requester what they're looking for, or at least try to meet them halfway or get them partially what they're requesting. I then reached out to the requester himself and wanted to talk to him to see if maybe there's something that we can narrow down the search, if it would make it, streamline it for us to locate in the office to get the information. Sometimes I'll do that with requesters if it's a broad time frame to see if there's something specifically, if they just requested a year, but really they're looking for a certain month or a date. In this particular instance, the requester wanted the request exactly as was written in the FOIAs. So then I looked at each FOIA and each denial, and looking at the fact that we are not to create documents if we don't have the information readily available or in a report that we can run from our system. We don't have to, and we're not required to go into our case management system and create a report trying to pull that information. Sometimes I will go into like our accounting software and I will just put parameters around a report, but the report is already built, that information's already in the system. So when looking at these particular FOIAs that are listed, I did sign my approval for the denial based on the data just not being readily available and in a report and accessible for us to be able to provide it to the requester.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I have a question about if a were to come forward and say, I want to know how much money the county has spent on all out-of-state travel broken down per commissioner. Would you provide that information?
Yes.
Do you have that readily available?
Yes, we have
In
a
a
report.
report?
Yep, we do. Yes.
Okay.
We do. Yep.
And even if it broke it down further to, per state, like I want to know, they traveled somewhere and,
Well, we have it, I would be able to run a report. See, each commissioner has a different line item, and so I can run that report based on the line item. When it comes to a reimbursement per state, it would all just be in one line item of out-of-state travel.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to provide which state they went to and break it down that way. So what I would provide them, even if they requested which state, I would just provide them with the
out of
out-of-state
state.
number.
So there would be, the data's there, it's just not, it's not narrow enough, or I shouldn't say narrow enough, filtered enough.
Too
that-
narrow, yeah, it's filtered too much
Yeah.
for me to be able to provide that to them.
Okay,
And that's a great example of what I was talking about. We can't break it down that way. You could give a number, but we can't break it down what's requested.
okay.
Okay. So can I get a motion on FOIA Appeal 25-129 for denial?
Are you asking for, because I think you're asking for an upholding of the denial. Is that what?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, someone else can make that because I won't.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like a roll call vote on all of these, please.
Commissioner Melvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
I would like the record to show, so please add it to the record, that although there is a legal basis for denial, I cannot in good conscience uphold this denial. I vote no.
Commissioner Van Genhoven,
No.
Commissioner Jensen.
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, FOIA Appeal 25-133. Give me a second to find it. Can we get started on that with discussion?
I think it's the same as the previous one. I don't see any difference between, I don't see any difference between
Because you
it.
said you had some questions on some of them.
Yeah, but
You
it's
just didn't say which
135.
one.
135 and 139. Those are the two that I feel differently about. but-
Okay. So can I get a motion to uphold the denial,
It was a partial denial.
partial denial?
So moved.
I'll support.
Commissioner Melvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Again, let the record show that although there is a legal basis for this denial, I cannot in good conscience uphold this denial. I vote no.
Commissioner Van Genhoven,
No.
Yes.
Okay. That one held. Number 3, FOIA Appeal, number 25-134. Can I get a motion to uphold the denial?
So moved.
I'll support.
Hold
Yes.
on, can we have some discussion?
Yeah.
So, in these issues, it seems we have a trend of, we have a legal reason to do it, but there's a question of conscience as to whether we should. So what would be, I'd like to ask the commissioners that voted no, what would be a better option?
Well, I would not say that it's a, what was the word you used?
Question of conscience.
Yeah. So when the legislature wrote the FOIA Act, they didn't put that it's up to legal or your prosecuting office to make the final decision as to whether you're going to release this information or not. They put it in the hands of this board, because this board represents the people. And what I have an issue with is that we rely on our legal counsel to make decisions around this. There may be, in this case, there are legal basis for these denials. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be releasing this information. I believe that we should be seeking out a way to get this information into the hands of the public so that they can participate in this process, and that continuing to deny these requests is going to continue to create mistrust in the prosecutor's office and mistrust of this body. And so I want to figure out a way to not continue down that same path. So I'm not saying that legally there isn't a legal reason, but I would have wanted like maybe even 10 extra days to contact this company that does this person-based case management and say, hey, how can you help us? How can we get this information out of this system? Like doing the work necessary to figure out that, or to do the work necessary to make sure that we have crossed our T's and dotted our I's, that we can't possibly get this data out.
So why wasn't that your motion?
Well, I didn't have a chance to make that motion, because
I
I
kinda
wasn't
waited,
even,
though.
Well,
I wasn't even in that process at that point,
our
though.
chair said that he was seeking a motion to uphold the denial.
True, but there was enough of a pause where if you wanted to say, hey, I just need 10 more days.
I don't even know that we can, I don't even know that we can use it for that, because I think that in the act, it says you can take 10 days and it's for extenuating circumstances, and I don't know if that's an extenuating circumstance in this case. I mean, I reached out, although it was late in the game because I was very busy trying to get through other stuff, but I did ask, what is this system called? What are we using? Because I do want to do the research. I want to figure out, is there a way that we could be using this more effectively so we could be answering these questions? But I don't have the time to,
Sure,
I can't do
sure.
that before this meeting, and
Right.
I don't even know that I'm going to be able to do it in 10 days. These things take time. You contact a company and you have, you basically set up a meeting, you talk about the data structure, you talk about, what is the goal here to extract this data, and how can we extract it in the future? And those it doesn't happen in 10 days.
Sure.
So, I don't think that we would have been able to do it in 10 days.
So the no vote would be more of a protest. You know it has to happen, but.
No, the no vote is, I know that data exists. How can we get it to the person? That's
Okay.
the no vote.
So you sway my vote to a no. Then what's our next step?
Then the prosecutor's office is going to have to do the necessary steps to figure out how to get the data out or they're going to contact the requester and say, all right, here's what the cost is going to be to extract this data. We do have the data, the underlying data is there, and we're going to have to extract it, but here's what the cost is going to be. And then it's up to that requester to either pay that cost, which in this case is probably going to be pretty substantial because there's no other way to get it out other than, it sounds like, human hours. But maybe in the future, at working with the company, we may have other options. But right now, it's probably going to be fairly costly. But the requester would absolutely have an option at that point to say, I can't afford that, or, no. Even though we've told them that the underlying data is there, and here's what it would cost you to get it.
So we're looking at possibly funding a new position if the vote would be no. And if this board felt that we had those documents that were producible.
Why would we fund a new position?
Well, if it's going to take a year, I assume that,
That was without funding a new position, it would take a year. So, I mean, the people, you still do your job. So there's a misconception around FOIA that once you've said that you have it and here's what it's gonna cost, like all of a sudden you have to produce it. You have as much time as you need to accomplish the task. So if it takes you a year to get the data, then it takes you a year to get the data. That's what it takes. No one's saying hire more people to get the data for you. That's just not, that's putting words in my mouth that
well,
are just
no,
not
but
accurate.
I'm saying there's a cause and effect. I'm not saying that you're saying that that you're saying hire a new position. I'm saying that there would be a cause and an effect to this.
Right, I mean, and the prosecuting attorney has already told us that it would take approximately, and it's not even relative to these, this was a previous case.
Sure.
That would take, 1 point whatever years, so I'm assuming that that's, someone still doing their job and, extracting the information. You're not dedicating 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week to extracting the data for one particular FOIA request,
Well, and I don't know that.
yeah, I would assume, but I don't know either, so.
I guess one of the things I look at when upholding what we previously had is the case law that's already cited, that's in here, is very specific to that about not generating, it's not required, obviously, to make a compilation or summary report of information or create a new public record. And that goes back to even the recommendation from our administrator. The information is one thing, but to go back to now recompile that to create it. Now, I agree, there may be a point in the future, maybe after dealing with that vendor, maybe that is a capability that is either in or could come out in that software, but it's not something we currently have available to be able to do that.
The reason that I vote no on these is I have a very hard time with the fact that we do not have this data compiled. We don't, this seems like a very simple, not labor-intensive task. You get done with a trial, you enter it into a record. Was it guilty? Was it not guilty? Was it dismissed? I'm trying to figure out if that's the last annual report that was submitted in 2015, at what point did we not do this anymore? And to me, the things that this requester is asking for, albeit, we've had many, many appeals, with this one in particular, the total number of criminal cases dismissed in 2024 broken down by felonies and misdemeanors. What are we talking? Are we talking 1,000 cases, 100 cases, a handful of cases? To me, if I saw that, I would be like, oh, that shouldn't be too hard to figure out. But yet we're denying it because the document doesn't exist.
But the underlying data is there.
But the underlying data is there. How much time would it take you to do that? I mean, I've had my own experience with FOIA where I've been denied because I've asked for something and because I had one word in there, they said, oh, you're denied because the information doesn't exist, because the document doesn't exist. Oh, it exists. It's just not in that specific data form.
Can I call on the prosecutor to answer?
Yeah. Specifically this one. This
Yeah.
one seems so straightforward.
135?
134.
134.
Yep.
Didn't bring that one with me.
134 is the total number of criminal cases dismissed by the prosecutor's office between January 1 and December 31st of
Sure.
2024.
So it does seem simple on its face, but then when we really start breaking it down, does that mean dismissed? But what if it was reissued? Does it still fall in that category? Was it dismissed pursuant to a plea agreement in another case? Was one charge dismissed, but another charge wasn't in that same case?
But the person is asking specifically for the number of criminal cases dismissed.
Right, but I don't know what that dismissed means. So I would have, in order not to read into that dismissed, I would have to go pull documents related to all of those categories I just described.
Maybe it'd be easier just to ask the person, what do
yeah.
you mean? Yeah,
I mean, you can, but that, at this point,
I mean, it says felony cases dismissed, misdemeanor cases dismissed. So what you're saying, and I believe when I read, because I've read all of your responses, and I do believe this was like, well, Sometimes a felony dismissal, something can happen like after the fact. I don't know, whatever happens, but can become something else. And is that the challenge?
Well, that's one of the challenges. But it's also that, does the pure dismissal, where I authorize a case and then 2 weeks later, for whatever reason, it's dismissed, whatever that reason might be, don't have the information, don't have the evidence, whatever it might be. Is that the sole category that's being asked about? Or what about the case where 2 weeks later, that individual is cooperating with law enforcement, so we dismiss it to have them continue with that cooperation with law enforcement? They don't continue that cooperation with law enforcement, so it's resubmitted to me, it's reauthorized. That case is now.
So it was dismissed, but then not dismissed.
Right, it's reauthorized. Then we have the situations where we have one case, the person has multiple cases pending, and quite often we'll have, okay, you plea on case 1, 2, and 3, we'll dismiss 4, 5, and 6. So 4, 5, and 6 being dismissed without the context of 1, 2, and 3, you lose all relevancy to that. And so I don't know how we separate all of that out just to give dismissed by felony or misdemeanor when some of them include felonies and misdemeanors. Does that also mean we put them in both categories, both lists? Is it just the top count? We typically categorize in our office that if it's a case with a felony and a misdemeanor, we refer to it as a felony. But if both the felony and the misdemeanor are dismissed, does it go in each category? And then our system doesn't break it down by felony versus misdemeanor. It does at the time of authorization. In terms of the one document that I've been able to provide, it's broken it down from there. But from there on out, it looks at what the final charges were. So we can pull the Nolly prosecute order in each and every case, but there's still going to be context. At least that document gives that context because we have to give a reason when we dismiss a case.
I understand. So again, I go back to if your office comes to this board and seeks additional resources, financial resources, because of the workload that you have, what data are you going to present to us?
The data within the framework of the PAM numbers at this point, which looks at the total number of cases submitted to our office. I have submitted it, I honestly didn't know about that portion of our website where the 2015 is until Christine, you brought it to our attention through the course of this. Never seen that before.
Okay.
So I have presented to this board previously, I believe it would have been last year, a multiple page memo and brief that outlined the total number of cases that came through our office, what that caseload looks like, and what the total number of attorneys for our office would be based off of that associated workload. I
Okay.
believe in there I outline, I haven't looked at it for over a year, but I believe in there I outline several of the trials that we went through and several of the higher profile, more significant serious felonies, because obviously those are a drag on time more so than, your Walmart retail fraud type case.
And that was last year, so that would have been 2024.
Correct,
And
but
this-
only through June,
Okay. But only through, so January to June or October to June?
January through June.
January through June.
Maybe October. Again, I haven't looked at it. I would have to go back and check for sure. I
Okay.
know I broke it down. I believe I broke it down by the first 6 months of the calendar year, but I can double check on that. And
Okay.
I didn't break it down by cases filed, cases dismissed. It was total cases received by our office.
Okay.
Because at that time, with that case tracking system, that was the easiest way to track that information, because we had a total case tracking number that we could look at and see the close of business on August 18. We had 787 cases that had been submitted to our office and entered into our case tracking system.
Okay.
So, and that's just an example. That's not today's real number.
So let me ask you this, by upholding your denials, your partial denials or your full denials, the person who's requesting this documentation then has the opportunity to take it to circuit court, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, has that happened with any of our appeals up to this point?
it is not.
Okay, thank you.
I would also note none of the estimates I've been provided have been paid for as of yet.
These are estimates that in some of the FOIA requests, there's partial denial and some of it is, we have this and this is what it will take, so here's what the estimate is to give you that FOIA.
I
That's what
understand.
she's talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Could you ever restate the motion, please? Could you restate the motion, please?
Uphold the denial of FOIA Appeal 25-134.
Roll call?
Oh, sorry. I forgot. No.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Again, let the record show that although there is a legal basis for this denial, I cannot in good conscience uphold this denial. My vote is no.
Commissioner Van Galen.
No.
Commissioner Jensen.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I have to go back to work. I'm about 10 minutes late. I didn't think this meeting was going to last this long, so may I be excused?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, FOIA appeal number 25-135. Christine, Commissioner Williams, you had something on this one? Did you want to discuss that before we take a vote?
No, I don't have any comment on this. Based on the conversations we've had thus far, I don't have anything further, so.
Okay. Can I get a motion on this?
I'm still pulling the rest of this one up here. This is with the fee.
Prosecutor, did you want to speak on this one first?
I guess I'm just, and I understand, Commissioner Williams, what your concerns are. This one, we gave the information.
Yeah.
We just didn't give it in the format he was looking for, but the raw data was provided. So I just wanted to make sure that that was
Yep.
clear. Okay. That's all I need.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
Yeah, hold on, hold on.
So I would make a motion to uphold the partial denial of appeal number 25-135.
Support.
Okay.
Commissioner Melman.
No.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes?
Commissioner Van Galen.
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen.
No.
So with that, the motion dies.
Yeah, I'm not
So-
sure you guys understood what I was doing there, but do you agree with the denial?
With the denial, yes.
Then
Well,
you should have
that's-
voted
Oh,
yes.
Then you should
Oh.
have voted yes, because
Oh.
there was a motion on the floor to uphold the denial.
Yeah,
Then-
so,
Oh, uphold it on.
I stand corrected. I will change that. Uphold the denial.
Same here. Okay, motion passed. FOIA appeal number 25-136. Prosecutor, did you have anything to put on that one? FOIA appeal 25-136.
I guess if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. On this, our system doesn't track what plea agreements were just simply offered. So if something was offered but not accepted, our system would have no way to track that. If something was offered and accepted, It wouldn't necessarily document that in our system. It knows it's pled, it's resolved, but it doesn't know the mechanism behind that resolution, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so for instance, because he's asking plea agreements offered and accepted.
Correct, and so our system tracks that, yep, a case has been resolved, but it doesn't necessarily have the ability to track whether or not it was done so pursuant to a plea agreement.
So is there any, in this particular case, a plea agreement is offered?
Correct.
Okay, so your system, I would think clearly you know when a plea agreement has been offered.
We generate the document of the plea agreement from the system, and so yes, it would have that, but it doesn't, we have no way to mark in there that, yep, it's been accepted, and that's why the case was resolved pursuant to that plea agreement.
Okay, so you have, okay, I want to make sure I understand. So you have plea agreements that are offered, and you have no way of knowing when that case is completed, that it was, that the, how do I say this? I would think that knowing that the plea agreement was the result of the completion of that case would be important, but you're saying that your system doesn't track that?
The system doesn't track that. We have a document that tracks that within each individual case. It's
Okay.
called a plea sheet that's generated by the court.
Okay, so then in this case, you would know through your system that the plea agreements were offered and accepted.
We would not know what was accepted from an ability to run a report or generate that data from the system. We would have to go in and find that plea sheet in the individual cases.
Okay, so it does exist, it's just not accessible.
It's not
It's
accessible in a report
Yep,
format.
that you already have.
Correct.
Yep.
So
Okay,
with the
that's what I
current
thought.
system, you would still have to enter if you were initially offering.
So in every case, if we generate an offer, it comes out of that system, but that does not indicate that it's been accepted by the defendant.
Okay.
That's sent to the defense attorney. Sometimes they tell us ahead of court that you're gonna accept it. Sometimes it's in the middle of court. Sometimes we have that form signed back, that's scanned back into our files. That's probably 10% of the cases. And I'm talking purely circuit court. I'm also talking purely our new system. Our old system didn't track any of this information, and we also don't have any of that information available to us anymore.
So was the old system in 2024?
Yes, the first half of 2024.
So, and this is, so the first like 6 months of 2024?
June
'cause it
10th was our
June?
transition, so it's pretty much dead halfway through.
Okay, so June of 2024 would have been when you actually had this data, not in a report form, but you have the data available to you after June of 2024.
Yes,
Okay,
I have the raw underlying data
Yeah.
is how I'll phrase it,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And I get a motion on 25-136.
Is that 137? It's 137. That we uphold the denial.
For 25-136.
Correct,
Yep.
yes,
20, yeah. Hold denial,
uphold it.
okay. I'll support.
Commissioner Melvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
No, and again, let the record show that although there is a legal basis for denial, I cannot in good conscience uphold this denial.
Commissioner Vandenhoven?
No.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
E5-136 dies.
Correct.
I don't know that it can, so we
Yeah.
may have to come back to this, so I don't actually know what to do about that.
Well, since the denial was not upheld, that means that it would go back to the FOIA coordinator to work with the department that issued the response to try to get the information in the response.
So Okay, so then, how does it go back to the requester?
Well, the board would have to make a motion to the other way, which now we're split, so I don't know if it would ever get resolved here tonight to
Yeah, I
move
don't.
forward.
I don't think it would. I don't think that it's worth, batting it back and forth.
Right.
But it would be interesting. I don't know how it moves forward. I'm not familiar with that part of the appeal process.
I mean, the only thing I can offer is that I take it back and then reach out to the requester and try to resolve it under those terms, like I have some of the other
And bring it back. then.
requests. And then if there's still a denial and then it would have to come back to the board again if the requester so appeals it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, let's see here. FOIA appeal, number 6, which would be FOIA appeal number 25-137. Prosecutor, do you have anything on this?
That was the overall time, right?
Actual memo on this one, so that's a good start. So on this one, our system has never tracked, we would have to sit there and do the math itself. It has never, I've never seen it generate an average or a median between charge authorization to final disposition. The other hangup we had with reviewing this one in terms of generating some sort of ideas, if there's not some sort of estimate, is if there's not a final disposition, if that person hasn't been picked up on the warrant or the case is still pending, how is that addressed through this FOIA? And that was not something that we had an answer for without really reading into the language, which we're not supposed to do related to a FOIA.
So basically, this request is just asking for the overall average, because in the second bullet, it just says if possible, so we could certainly, eliminate that. But it's asking for the average time from charge authorization to final disposition for all criminal cases. So it's very broad, all criminal cases. And you're just saying that in order to provide this information, you would actually have to track the time. You'd have to enter that into a spreadsheet and look at the average.
Correct. I would have to go through, and presumably we're starting in January, to pull out which cases were authorized in January of 2024, put down the start date. The other internal debate we had is whether charge authorization, because I'm one step in it. I sign off on it, I authorize it, but it has to go through district court for final authorization for the actual issuance of the warrant. That we don't have any control over. And so we were gonna use our internal authorization date, even though that might not be the date on the warrant. That is generally included on the warrant, but take that and try to go find the final disposition. And so pulling at least 2 pieces of paper from each case until we found the one, or to try to determine the average.
Gotcha.
There was another one that asked for the longest duration, so that's why I'm getting my language mixed up.
Yeah.
But the average time, yes, we would have to pull each and every case that was authorized that ultimately had a disposition in 2024. But the only way to do that is to find all the 2024 authorized cases and start from there. And we're talking probably close to 1,000 cases.
Okay. What do you think the reason for this request is? This was an odd request to me. I'm curious what you think the reasoning for it would be.
I'm not sure, because this is a metric I would look at is more on the court than it is on our office. Because 90% of this is outside of our hands. We don't set the court dates, we don't
Right.
set the arraignment dates.
Right.
We have a say in some of those dates, but we don't ultimately, we're not the only ones saying. So I'm not sure what this is attempting to track, because so much of it is things outside of our control and within the court system.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I get a motion.
I'll move that we uphold the denial for FOIA Appeal 25-137.
I'll support.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandenhuvel,
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen.
Yes.
'That appeal was Denied. FOIA Appeal 39, excuse me.
I have a question on this one, if you don't mind. You should just stay up there. So in this particular one, you know, you state that you look for all the following, you know, the relevant information, determine that there were no asset forfeiture actions initiated by your office during this period of time. Is there a different office that would have been dealing with these forfeitures? Is that like the treasurer's office?
So the key there is related to a criminal case that was later dismissed or resulted in no conviction. That designation is why we have no records.
Okay.
That would be a filing, we would do it, we do asset forfeitures, but we do not do them when they do not have a criminal case or that was later dismissed or resulted in no conviction.
Okay,
They're handled through the treasurer's office, they're also filed through the clerk's office. They're really not handled through the treasurer's office until they're resolved, though.
okay,
I guess in theory, the AG's office, if they had a distinct case within Delta County, could also file it in Delta County. I wouldn't have knowledge of that, though, but that would be the only other outside entity, outside
Okay.
of outside the county.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Not for me, no. I would make a motion to uphold FOIA denial for request 25-139.
I'll support.
Okay. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
And I just want the board to know, we did get a couple appeals on the same case numbers that we heard tonight. And I did reach out to the requester and let them know that they've already been appealed, so they can't reappeal them because there hasn't been a determination yet. I have not heard back from the requester, so I don't know if that is going to become an issue in the future, if they are okay with that answer, but I will let the board know if for some reason, I've never had that before.
well, I don't think that's the process. So once we make a final determination, it is no longer in our hands. We're done.
Correct,
So
yes.
this individual has to file in court in
Right.
order to move it forward.
Right.
So, and do an in-camera review and so on and so forth. So we're done. So, yeah, it can't come back to us.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that that information, and I did it in writing to the requester, and then we attached it to the original appeal, just so that it was all a part of the same file. The language was all the same and the numbers were the same. So-
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, there new business, there was no new business. Number 12, general public comment. Any general public comment?
Hi, this is Joseph Perrotta. I'd like to use my public comment to speak about a broader concern transparency from Prosecutor Wickman's office. The repeated denials of FOIA requests are not isolated incidents. They reflect a pattern of selective disclosure. I have three main points. Ms. Wickman publicly issues press releases discussing charges, decisions, and trial preparations when it suits her politically, yet denies identical categories of records under FOIA. That double standard undermines public trust. You can go on the example of the statement that she put out August 15th about a case that she is working on. FOIA evasion. Instead of following FOIA's duty to segregate and disclose, her office leans on blanket denials, no records, duplicative, or work product. This creates a wall of secrecy that is not consistent with Michigan law. This is a public impact. These aren't academic records. They show how often charges are dismissed, how many plea deals are cut, how long prosecutors take, and whether forfeitures are pursued without convictions. These directly affect families and defendants in Delta County. When the prosecutor hides these numbers, she hides the truth about how justice is administered. The people of Delta County deserve more than press releases. They deserve real transparency. I urge the board to take these denials seriously, to insist on accountability, and to remind the prosecutor that FOIA is not optional. The public cannot trust what it cannot see. Thank you.
Okay, any other general public comment? Any other general public comment? Seeing none? Commissioner comments? Or Williams?
I was just going to remind the public that the Conservation District is having their annual meeting on August 20th?
Yes.
At 22nd, I'm sorry, August 22nd. And, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, everyone, I'm being corrected here. It is August 20th, and 3 PM to 7 PM, or 3 PM to 6 PM, I believe. You can get out and vote. There are folks on the ballot to vote for Conservation District board members. So I would just like to remind the public about that.
And it's at Pioneer Trail Park.
Oh, sorry, thank you, Pioneer Trail Park.
That's okay.
Yeah, it does matter where it is, right?
Yeah.
Commissioner Kelly?
No.
Commissioner?
No.
I think to know before I get it out.
I have no comments for that tonight.
Administrator?
No, thank you.
And I have no comment. Okay, meeting schedule. Next regular Board of Commissioners meeting is 8/19 at 5:15 right here at the Service Center. Next one would be 9/2/25 at 5:15 at the Service Center. And the next, third one would be 9/16 at 5:15 here at the Service Center. 30-day notice of appointment, there is none. I need a motion to adjourn.